Only a few reality TV series really do well. The hearts of people all over the world. One show Pawn has been doing this since 2009. Stars on the History Channel. It brilliantly mixes history with amusement. Andrick Harrison, co-founder of Negotiating Shop and show, has spent much of his worked hard to make a living in the shop and grow the business of the pawn shop. Even while he was clearly committed to growth, Rick has had a lot of personal problems and legal fights that most people Aruna doesn't know what happened. So let's look into it. Contact Rick Harrison to receive an update on Rickard Kelvin's present state. Fans often call Harrison Rick. Harrison's birthday is March 22 and Richard Benjamin Harrison and Joan Rue Harrison's parents had 4 kids. Sure, Joseph, Rick, and Chris are the kids, with Rick being the third kid. Rick suffered a catastrophe early in life when lost one of his brothers. Sure, Joanne Harrison Sherry was the first child of Benjamin Harrison, and Joanne Harrison was born with Down syndrome and died at the age of 6. Thoric's dad was a veteran of the US Navy. Harrison's family moved in 1967 when he was 2, went to San Diego, California. Because of his, Rick had to deal with his father's transfer issues when he started getting seizure-hushed convulsions when he was 8 years old. That left him with no other option except to invest a lot, spend time in bed reading books. This kindled his love for literature that lasted a lifetime. Really liked a series by reading The Great Brain by John D. Fitzgerald, which had a 10-year-old con from Utah. Tom D. Fitzgerald is an artist who Harrison was inspired by. Harrison, he really liked science and history, liked learning about the Royal Navy from the late 1700s to the early. Harrison went to Taft Middle School in the 1800s. Went to school in San Diego but quit sell fake Gucci in the 10th grade. 20 bags. Rick and his family relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada, in April 1981 because the real estate firm of the parents had failed. When Rick was 17, he encountered another difficulty when his girlfriend got pregnant. Rick was still quite young, but he was brave, opted to accept being a father, which is sad. The couple went through the awful loss of their first baby to a miscarriage, but they stayed nonetheless strong and finally got married in 1982. They had their first baby. Corey was born on April 27, 1983, and subsequently became very important to his father's business. They were happy to see each other 2 years later. Their second child, Adam, came along not long after Harrison and Kim broke up after Adam was born in 1985, but Rick didn't stay a single dad for a long time. Only 9 months after his divorce, he began dating Tracy, and they were together for around 8 months before they got married in 1986. They all worked together to take on the duty of taking care of Corey and Adam. We've talked about Rick's first steps into physics and history, which helped him in his career because his dad opened a 300-foot store that sells used gold and silver coins in South Las Vegas Boulevard. In Rick's knowledge of history in 1981 truly helped the shop go well since he was there to give historical support each piece. But at night, Rick was taken back. 5 years later, the family moved to a new house, to a larger area on Fremont Street, but they had to move again after 2 years because they didn't pay their rent on time. Rick talked about how he and his dad wanted to revamp the store. For a period, it was a pawn shop for viewing it as a reasonable next step, but they couldn't because of a statute from 1955 in Las Vegas which only gave out a small number of licenses to pawn based on the city's population. Therefore, they came to apply for a pawn license as soon as the city's number of people hit 250,000, and by 1989 they finally got their pawn license after going through some legal problems that year. Father and son opened Gold and 713 Las Vegas Silver Pawn Shop. Boulevard South is not far from the last father and son at first on the Vegas Strip, accused on selling unique sports goods with one-of-a-kind historical items in their shop, but jewels became their most popular item. Selling things over time for their business flourished and got famous in Las Vegas. They were lending out millions by 2005, making hundreds of thousands of dollars each year in interest income. The next year, business became known for carrying things that were hard to find, things for sports that are fun like a Super Bowl ring from 2001 that belonging to football player Brock Williams. They also benefited people who were betting. Someone would sell items to acquire money for gas to get back home. Their expansion and the popularity of the grabbed the attention of the History Channel, which led to the birth show Pawn Stars started in July. Brent Montgomery and Colby Gaines. In 2009, from left field, photographs came up with idea for Pawn Stars came up during a visit they adored going to Las Vegas in 2008. A lot of fascinating and shady pawn stores that thought these stores may be home to fascinating characters that looked for a store owned by a family to base a Tevry's on eventually found the gold and silver pawn shop, which was less than two. This store is less than a mile from the Las Vegas Strip. Had already been the subject of a Pibrick the Manager and a documentary in 2001, and the part owner wanted to show Abutrick had owned his company for years before. Was on an episode of Insomniac with show first aired in 2003 with Dave Attell, tried to sell to HBO, but they didn't like it. Original idea, but they let it happen, turned into the family-friendly style we have called it Pawning History. At first was later changed to Pawn Stars to better fit what they were shooting for. Name is a funny play on words with porn stars. The famed Golden is where the show is filmed. Las Vegas, Nevada, has a silver pawn store. Jewelry is the most common thing, though. Customers on Pawn Stars bring things to pawn in a variety of old or antique things. The store has more than 10,000 things in its anecdote about the store's inventory. While shooting is not open to the public, but a few consumers that have been accepted can go inside. The Harrison family became very well known. Because a lot of people saw the show, it gave good ratings and sought more. This helped the show get bigger in return. Pawn Stars every year in January 2011 was the most popular show on the History Channel and the second most popular reality show after Jersey Shore. In June, Rick Harrison put out his on the 7th of 2011 biography, License to Steal Pawn Deal, Sand My Life at the Bright Silver, which got to number 22 on the New York Times by June 26, 2011. It was on the bestsellers list. Rick divorced his second wife this same year, Rick's wife Tracy, the next year. Harrison, who had been divorced twice, said he was getting married to Deanna Barrett. Rick was thrilled because he was also divorced. With the show's success and his expanding, a lot of fans like Corey Anchamley played themselves in on a iCarly episode called I Lost My Head. Rick played it in Vegas 4 days later, owner of an antique store, in an episode of another series labeled The Middle. Around the time he married Deanna Barrett in Laguna Beach, California. Through this, Rick got 3 stepdaughters after he got married: Serena, Kiana, and Marissa. In January 2014, Rick Harrison became the face of the company for the men's Micro Touch 1 razor shaving product and was on TV a few months later. A few months later, there was a commercial for it. History Channel showed United material for the first Timia show from the people who made Pawn Stars that show the way to important objects that stand out. In July 2014, the game had some important events. The first episode of the show Pornography aired on Theric. Corey and History Channel Cumley is battling with other candidates to stop them from getting cash and things from the pawn shops that deal in gold and silver. A lot of stock, but regretfully a series of Rick went through some terrible things. Rick lost his father and his family. Junior Ricard Harrison, who was known as the Old in 2018, the man on the TV show Pawn Stars, died. Rick told everyone that his father had died to more than 245,000 people who follow them on Instagram, and they said that Parkinson's disease was the reason. A representative for the Harrison verified the patriarch paste and gave the Samaric posted this statement on Instagram. A History Channel made a statement showing how heartbroken they are about you. Are really sad that the TV celebrity has died. About losing our friend Richard the Harrison, the old man who was at a red part of the History and Pawn Stars message notes that his family will miss him. Wisdom and honesty are what we want in our hearts. The Harrison family during this hard Timerick lost his father at a time when he was made him really sad and also made him alone responsible for taking care of the family and running the shop. COVID-19 epidemic hit hard in 2019, having an effect on the business and making a lot. Rick has a lot of problems with a lot of individuals. One can have a hard time during COVID-19. Thought pawn stores were doing well after all if you were in a bad circumstance and required quick cash. Unfortunately, the shop was the place to go. That wasn't the case for a lot of these companies. At first, there was an increase in business at the start of didn't endure long in a pandemic. Interview with a star on Fox News. Pawn Stars Rick said that COVID-19 had changed the way the pawn shop business worked. Had old how the whole industry worked as a hard time getting back on its feet. Latterly, that most individuals were merely doing important things to do, like going to a pawn shop wasn't the first thing on their lists. Torek had to partially make things worse. It had to close his shop doors in March 2020 because the number of cases made the tourism part of even though the business was closed for 30 days, the money part stayed the same. Working according to the Las Vegas, the shop's CFO told the Review Journal that we kept buying things and paying off the loan business through our night window to for 7 since it was clear that there were others. Warwick was still willing to help even though he was hurt. Fight for his business, and he made it clear that he and the rest of the world were famous team at Gold and Silver Pawn Shop was ready to put in more effort. At an interview waving a news station in Las Vegas back said in April 2020 that we have lowered the interest rate on anything we provided people more time for them to collect up their things. Understood that I've lived in this place for a long time. It's given me a lot, and I usually try to help out during. Thetrick also said during the conversation that he expected the economy will become better in around 6 months, but we now know that wasn't true. According to the Gold and Silver Daily Mail, in 2020 pawn shop that regularly makes more than $1 million each year only made $3,746 because of the COVID-19 epidemic. Enric also had to deal with the extra stress of getting a divorce from his third wife. He married in September 2020 based on court documents that were gotten. Rick Harrison and Deanna Biddett seem to have grown apart so considerably that they couldn't stay together as a couple. Rick alleged in the lawsuit that their tastes, people's ideas, and preferences have changed so different that they can't get along in marriage. TMZ also said that the people may have missed the divorce because it happened during the National. Rick told TMZ that the George Floyd demonstrations get 3 wonderful girls out of it, talking about Diana's 3 kids from her first marriage, and added that the marriage didn't work out and he and his wife both agreed to the divorce. Also indicated that he has moved on from their sent pictures of him and his daughter. It's evident from what he wrote on Instagram that he still thinks of his stepchildren as his own. Rick and his daughter had a day off roading. He wrote in an Instagram post on August 7th had said similar things about more than one of his stepdaughters, thus at least that's a good thing. Even Thorick dealt with everything well, even when it was hard. Help from his son Corey and his best buddy Austin Chumley Russell. A year. Rick's fourth wife came along later. Amanda Palmer wants a better life. Rick's problems, though, were with Harrison in February 2022 when he has legal problems with his own. Joan Rue is the mother, according to USA Today. Rick's mom, Joanne Harrison, has filed a lawsuit against him over family assets and who owns the Gold and Silver. The civil case was filed in the pawn shop Rick Harrison at the Nevada State Court. Horizons Gold and Silver pawn business broker its Jorick Properties and other properties are being sued in the case. It's not always easy to run a family business, and hard because money issues can break up excellent connections. This is what happened, which is really bad. Rick and Joanne's son and mother disagreements had a big effect on Bond. His mother complained about money. Said Rick broke a contract saying that his mother was married for approximately 60 years to his father, but when she was in the hospital in the early 2000s, right after she woke up from, Rick had her sign over her 51% while she was in a coma, giving him ownership of the pawn shop at a when she didn't quite get it what she was signing. Of course didn't make Rick look good to fans who were following the news. All thought he was a family man who wouldn't hurt his family because of money. The fact on the ground was that Richard died and his wife got his 49% share in 2018. The pawn shop, but it seemed like her son never provided her the whole financial business documents because she hadn't gotten the right records for over $500,000 in cash and silver that Shed-Hot Richard had before he died. She claimed that Rick had stopped giving her money from Richard's part of the money Thaith company. Rick used to send her payments of $25,000. However, he stopped, and Joanne was also striving to attain that in 2020. Getting the courts to give back the allowance. Many people thought Rick was rich because reports Sajan requested a temporary restraining order against her son to stop him from selling any of the family's property. Restraining order would also stop Rick from shifting or hiding money or doing anything else that would cut down on her share of the family's lawsuit. Also requested for commercial damages. Unspecified damages. A detailed account of a court order to stop Rick from using his assets from taking money from his mother, and he had to give up any authority over her property through a healthy trust. Tholitter, Rick said in an interview. Charges about the case are false, and I think that my 81-year-old others are changing my mother's mind about Joan's request for their own gain. Said while Rick is enjoying his cozy being a famous person in charge of everything family business and its companies. Many makes me afraid and unsure if I will have enough money to pay for my every month for medical and personal expenditures, according to an article that Joanne read. is above 80 years old and has a lot of health issues that need care 24 hours a day, care that might cost as much as $155,000. Perrick says he first found out about it last month. The news story on the request for a restraining order stated he tried to get in touch with reports over the past few months, numerous times, but haven't been able to get in touch with her. In fact, that one of the firms she is suing is owned entirely by my mother. The star of Pawn Star looked perplexed by his mother's lawsuit, even though she had to deal with a lot of Rick's biggest and most difficult problems. The worst blow was still to come. Rick tragically lost his in January 2024. Son, a public information officer in Clark County, Nevada, confirmed that 39-year-old died from fentanyl, and Clark County Office of the Medical Examiner's office in the county said that the death was an accident came up when another resident saw his landlord's absence since January 17, found him unresponsive, which led to a call the police on January 19. Harrison told people about his son's posting a picture of himself as he passed by and Adam at a restaurant on his "You'll always be in my heart" on Instagram. "I love you," Adam Harrison said in his caption, adding a love emoji that is broken. Laura Hervich is the family's spokesperson, said in a statement on January 22 that Adam is said to have died from "are very sad about the fentanyl overdose. Please respect our privacy." After Adam's death, Rick also asked for privacy as we grieve his loss, said something about the issue in a statement saying that there is a fentanyl issue in this, we need to do more to help the country. Rick's response was serious. An emotional Instagram post about his son. Many people offered their condolences to Adam. Donald Trump Jr. just said, "I'm so sorry, man." Corey Harrison, Adam's older brother, also posted a picture of him as a child. Brother also put up a picture of him as a child. Them on his Instagram page. In the post said, "I'll always love you, Bubba," even if Adam Harrison wasn't visible on. He is said to have worked at Gold before Pawn Stars and Silver Pawn at one point, and then after become a plumber. Corey had first said that Adam didn't seem not even wanting to be on the show with all these troubles and misery in Rick's life is good, and he keeps going. His anguish hidden behind his bright smile. Rick supported Donald Trump for president and Daniel Rodemer for Nevada's 3rd in 2020. He even ran for Congress in thought about running for governor. Ofin Nevada. Rick also suggested in 2022 that he might run for us in 18. A number of members in the party have in 2004 talked to me about it, and I always think about it. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I'm still keeping my options open. Rick got his Kentucky Colonel status while watching an episode of Pawn Stars. Of the spin-off was filmed at Locust Grove. Was made a member of the Kentucky Colonels in June 2023 during their big parlor. The Kentucky Colonel is the governor's highest accolade. Is Kentucky. Rick doesn't work full-time anymore at the pawn shop, where he is currently in the 2nd season of Pawn Stars. Doric is in America, even though he has some legal problems. Looks like he's having fun in his semi-retirement, kept getting reality TV fame while spending time with his grandkids and family.